Hey, welcome back. This is Math, Chapter 3, Lesson 4, Multiply Decimals by Decimals. We always start with a review of the previous lesson. Get your math notebook out, show me these 6 problems, show all the work, check your decimal places, pause while you're working, check your answers here, bring your questions to the group, press play when you're ready to continue. Essential question: how can estimating be helpful? What will we learn today? To multiply decimals, to annex a 0 when multiplying decimals. Find 3 6/10 times 5/100. Estimate 3 6/10 times 5/100 is approximately 4 times 0. They round the 3 up to the nearest whole number, but 5/100 is too small, so it rounds back down to 0. So our estimate is that 3 6/10 times 5/100 is approximately 0. 3 6/10 times 5/100 is 180 thousandths. It has 1 decimal point here and 2 more decimal points here. This is what's new in today's lesson. So I have 1, 2, 3 altogether decimal places. They jump out, fall down, jump back in 3 times. 3 decimal places. 1 plus 2 is 3. The product is 0 and 180 thousandths, or 0 and 1800ths. Remember that the 0 here changes his last name to thousandths, but it doesn't change the value. 1800ths is exactly the same amount as 180 thousandths. Once you place the decimal point, you can drop the 0 at the right. Here's another example. Find 5 3/10 times 12/100. So when you get your product, it's going to have 1, 2, 3 decimal places in the answer. Pause the video while you're doing your work. Show me all your work and your questions in your math notebook. Press play when you're ready to continue. Number 2, 0 and 112 thousandths times 7 2/10. We're going to estimate 0 and 112 thousandths times 7 2/10. 0 and 112 thousandths still lands on 0. Times 7 2/10, what do you predict? What'll that 2/10 do to the 7? Leave it alone. Or, again, 0. So we estimate that our answer will be approximately 0. 0 and 112 thousandths has 3 decimal places. 7 2/10 has 1 decimal place. So the product has 3 plus 1 or 4 decimal places. 112 thousandths times 7 2/10. Do the math. 224. Now we've got to get our 3 plus 1 more, 4 decimal places, but I only have 3 digits. Can you tell me what to do? I wasn't finished multiplying, sorry. Now we've got 4 decimal places, 1, 2, 3, 4 digits to jump, and we put our decimal place down. We put a 0 in the ones place for good form to show that there are no whole numbers. The product is 0 and 806, 0 and 8,064 10,000ths. Practice reading that decimal. Check for reasonableness. We estimated it would be approximately 0 and 8,064 10,000ths is approximately 0. Check. Here's another example. Find 257 thousandths times 3 2/10. So you've got 3 digits, 3 decimal places here, One more decimal place here, so that'll be 3 plus 1 or 4 decimal places in your product. Pause the video while you show all your work in your math notebook. Press play when you're ready to begin. Number 3, find 1 4/10 times 0 and 67 thousandths. 0 and 67 thousandths times 1 4/10 is 938 10,000ths. We've got 3 decimal places here, plus 1 more, that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and our decimal point. Put a 0 in the ones place for good form. We had to annex a 0 to make 4 decimal places. If it needs to jump and nobody's home, hire a house sitter. Put a placeholder right there. Here's another example. Find 2 4/10 times 13 thousandths. Pause the video while you show your work in your math notebook. Your answer should have how many decimal points? Places. Number 4, find 45 hundredths times 53 thousandths. The product will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decimal places. Annex zeros if needed. That means if your decimal point is jumping and nobody's home, you need to put a placeholder in there. Hire a house sitter. 45 hundredths times 53 thousandths. Do your multiplication. We get 135, but I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits for my decimal point. What am I going to do? I'm going to annex a 0. Check. Multiply related whole numbers. 45 times 53. 135 plus 225 is 2,385. Then we do the 5 decimal points and we get the same answer. Move the decimal to the left 5 places. What is the number? Let's try to read this. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths, 100 thousandths. So I have 2,385 hundred thousandths. Practice reading that decimal. Is the answer the same? Yes. Check. Here's another example. Find 72 hundredths times 37 thousandths. You will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decimal places in your final product. Be careful. Show all your work in your math notebook. Pause the video and press play when you're ready to continue. Number 5. A certain car can travel 28 45 hundredths miles with 1 gallon of gasoline. The gasoline tank can hold 11 5/10 gallons. How many miles can this car travel on a full tank of gas? Justify your answer. That means know what you know and know why you know it. Be able to tell me why your answer makes sense. This is also an excellent example of using math in real-world problem solving. So we're going to start with estimating. 28 45 hundredths times 11 5/10. They round the 28 to the nearest 10 and get 30. And round the 12 off to the nearest 10, or no, to the nearest 1, or 30 times 12, we know that 3 times 12 is 36. We add the 0 and get 360. 28 45 hundredths times 11 5/10. They multiplied, all 3 digits, add those up. I have 1, 2, 3 digits, 1, 2, 3 digits in the product. 2 plus 1 is 3. The product has 3 decimal places. We didn't have to annex a 0 this time. The car could travel 327 175 thousandths miles. Since 327 175 thousandths is approximately 360, the answer is reasonable. Here's another example. Jennifer makes $8.79 an hour walking dogs. She walks dogs for 6 7/75 hours per week. How much money does she earn each week? Justify your answer. Press pause, show me all the work in your math notebook. Press play when you're ready to go on. How did what you learned today help you answer the essential question? How can estimating be helpful? A simple answer could be, estimating is helpful by rounding before multiplying decimals. It's easier to check for reasonableness. Your ticket out the door. Find the product of 88 thousandths and 4 6/10. Show your work in your math notebook. That's all for now.